Hey there, it's Britt here. I am about to give you a full tour and review of the Pirates of Eleuthera Adventure Tour, one of the excursions that you can book on Disney's new private island, Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. There's quite a few tips, tricks, and things that you need to consider before arranging this tour and booking it on the app, so follow along and let's get started. First, you may be wondering how exactly you book this Pirates of Eleuthera Adventure Tour or any of the tours that Disney Cruise Line has to offer. You're going to book straight through the app. In fact, you can book as early as 75 days if you're a first-time sailor, and depending on your tier status, you can book even earlier than that. For us, we were able to book 90 days before our cruise began because we are silver members. We ended up booking one of the afternoon time slots for the excursion, so we came right from barbecue lunch, our tummies were full, and then we headed to the Gathering Tree, which is the meeting spot for the Pirates of Eleuthera Adventure Tour. This is also where you're going to check in and get everything you need for a comfortable experience. While waiting for our excursion to begin, we got to catch the tail end of the Junkanoo celebration, which is a Bahamian celebration of culture and music. One thing that was a lifesaver were the sun umbrellas that the adventure tour guides gave us, and do not turn these down. While you might think you don't need them, they are so handy, and the kids were so thankful that they were able to stay out of the sun. The nature trail is gorgeous, but there is not a ton of shade, and if you went in the middle of the day like us, those umbrellas are going to be very, very nice. Don't forget to get your family pic under the tramway while you're waiting for your tour to start. And also, the second thing that you're going to need is that wagon. If you've got littles that are going to fit in that wagon, do yourself a favor and just pull them along. It is so hot if you go in the middle of the day, and between the umbrellas and the wagon, our kids were like passenger princesses, and I'm telling you, it was so much better behavior because they did not have to worry about walking and walking and walking. It is a long walking tour. And so that wagon was a lifesaver, and me and my husband would have definitely rather been taking the brunt of the pulling and the working just so that my kids could have an easier ride. They had their water, they had some ice cream cones, and they were in good shape for that tour. You definitely also want to take advantage of the views. The nature trail is gorgeous, views of the ocean, and there's also plenty of water stops along the way. If you're worried about hydration, that really doesn't need to be a huge concern, as the tour begins in the barbecue area and they give you time to get all set up with water, and then every few hundred feet or so they have a water station where you can rehydrate. So that was not a problem at all, despite how hot it was the day for us. And so what's also really cool is that along the trail they have little X's that mark the spot, and they have the kids look out for these X's, and so they end up gathering little pirate telescopes and eye patches and everything a good pirate would need. And then they were surprised to meet the pirates themselves. They came out with their swords, they played games, and you're gonna see a fun treasure hunt that they do in just a little bit. What I loved about the tour is even though it was 2 hours long, and yes, it is 2 hours long, which was a little bit intimidating, especially for how hot it was in the middle of the day, they really kept those kids busy between the games and the treasure hunting, and so there wasn't really time to get bored, which was really, really nice. And the pirates, it was Captain Bonnie and Captain Cutlass, and they were really interactive with the kids, teaching them how to move like a pirate, to fight like a pirate, and they also did really fun games. And so once we got there, the kids were able to get out of the wagon, and this was where it was shady. So it was shady here and much more comfortable than just that hot, long walking trail of the nature trail. And so there were lots of things to do with these pirates, and definitely not a whole ton of room to get bored. And we had a really great view of the beach, and they were equipped with swords, and so their fighting lessons began. One thing I want to mention is that the nature trail that leads to this beach is all open to anyone that goes onto this private island. So you do not need a tour to access this beach or to access the nature trail. I think that's one thing that maybe if we were to go back and change, we would have realized that this was not some exclusive pathway. We could definitely have experienced this. But the pirates, of course, is not something that we would have been able to do on our own. And here the kids are fighting the pirates, and they also had fun coconut games where they had to play the coconut and look for buried treasure. And so we did spend a majority of our time here. They gave the kids snacks. There was definitely no shortage of fun on the Pirates of Eleuthera tour. I think another thing that I may have changed is choosing an earlier time slot. I thought that perhaps it would be fun to go to the beach first, but I think this tour would have been more fun earlier in the day before it got so hot, and using the beach and the water park as a nice relaxing time to end the day would have, I think, been more ideal for our family instead of being tired and now having to kind of drag them through a tour. Definitely flip-flop it so that you have a more leisurely end to your day. And then it would have also been nice to do this before we went to the barbecue, so then we can just sit down and have a nice meal afterward. So I think if I were to do this again, definitely would have changed the time that we booked it. But overall, I think that it was a really fantastic tour. I would definitely recommend, especially if you have kids that love pirates. If you don't really have pirate-loving kids, then they may not get as much out of this. And it may be something that you want to skip. So for us, yes, we're glad that we did it. Would we do it again? Probably not. For me, it was a one and done kind of a deal. But I think that this was definitely a really great option for families and something unique to do on Disney Cruise Line. Definitely would recommend. Finally, I'd probably recommend this tour for ages 8, 9, possibly 10 and younger. I think much older than that and they're going to start to get bored. This is a tour definitely geared for those littler pirates in the family, but they did really do a great job, and especially at the end when they gave out the buried treasure and finished the treasure hunt with treasure to take home, those coins, those jewels. The kids were very excited to finally find the treasure in the sand. But let me know in the comments what you think about the tour and if this is something you guys would try.